Hello folks. This is a tough subject to bring. I just happened upon a thing on YouTube. There was really nothing worth bothering with. But there's something called a verdict reached for Parkland shooter trial live. So I thought, well, let's see what that's about. Because, yeah, being not in America, you don't hear an awful lot about this sort of stuff. But what's actually going on. But this young man killed 17 people. 13 young people and 4 teachers, apparently. I do believe that's the case. Yeah. Awful situation. I mean, he was only a kid himself when it happened, 19 years old. Jesus. To be broken to that degree. To think that that's the thing to do. To go and end the life of all these people. Yeah. It's a horrendous situation all around, really. The jury was sent off to decide whether it would be a prison sentence or a death sentence. Yeah. Imagine being that jury. Yeah. Making that decision whether you were going to decide on a prison sentence for this person. He would spend the rest of his life in prison, there's no doubt about that. Or whether you're going to end this person's life. Yeah. And I understand that people will say, well, he was willing to end other people's lives. Got that. But he's a kid. And I've never been in an American high school. Never been. I can only go by what we see on TV programs and movies. But we seem to have an awful lot of shootings in schools. Which does suggest that what the TV programs and movies have shown over the years of the degree of bullying in schools. And the degree that, the football players and netball players, these are the heroes in school. And anyone who doesn't do that sort of stuff is just a victim, certainly, of the people that do. And the cheerleaders are the goddesses of school. And any other woman who's not quite up to that standards, or young woman, their experience in high school is horrendous. A lot of people. They have a horrible time in high school. And, especially with things like internet bullying being added to it. What goes on the internet pages for kids. And what they say about each other, do to each other on those pages. There's a program years ago called One Tree Hill that had a situation where one lad there who was basically invisible in school, bullied repeatedly in school. He got a gun. And he was shooting it around the school in this TV program. But in this one, he actually got to tell his story before he was killed in the end. But he got to tell his story about why he was doing what he was doing. And when you hear that story, you can certainly understand why people get to that point and do what they do. But again, I've never been in one of those schools, so I don't know whether that's completely true. But I do know kids, and kids can be incredibly cruel. And certainly if you've got schools that are focusing on sports, because of course that sports brings a lot of money into those schools. A lot of money. So there's a heavy focus on that. In Europe, that's not the case in any way, shape or form. Sports aren't, elevated massively in schools around Europe and most of the world. In America, yeah. And the problem is that whole system doesn't seem to look at, okay, school for those people that are good at those events will be fantastic. What about the people that aren't? What can we do in schools to protect these kids and to help these kids? Yeah. And it all comes from a society where, the argument is, guns should be available to everyone. Yeah, when they are, you get this. I mean, if you take guns out of the equation, they might go into school with a knife, but it's a damn sight easier to deal with, isn't it, than someone who's got a gun? Chances are they're not going to kill 17 people with a bloody knife, are they? Well, again, sorry, is that offensive? Maybe you should be offended by the fact you live in a country that says that, 19-year-old kids can get hold of a gun to take it into a school to kill other people. You have politicians that fight strongly for that. What the heck? Yeah, and then when this happens, thoughts and prayers is what they're going to offer. Thoughts and prayers. Yeah, I mean, to the rest of the world, they look at that and they say, what? Yeah, other countries, New Zealand had a situation where they had a shooting of a lot of people and they banned guns immediately. The people of the country understood, but the problem is America has this idealism where America is better than any other country in the world, and America is basically the one that shows the way, and you have your founding fathers, so does every other country basically, but far older than yours, but because your founding fathers were talking about the militia, and militia was needed at that point in time because of what was going on in the country, and talking about the fact that people should have the right to bear arms in that situation, context doesn't seem to matter, does it, to the people that fight for the right for people to bear arms? They have no understanding of context as to what was being spoken about at that time. And then, but that causes the problems like this. It does. So therefore, how should that country then have the right to kill the person who's killed a lot of the people because he's had the right to get a gun because of the way your country loves guns? Well, that is true. A lot of the people who claim in America to love God, they love guns far more than what they love God. Far more. I said before that they will have a gun by their bed. They see their gun as their protector. You're supposed to see God as your protector. You're supposed to understand that nothing at all can come into your life unless God wills it. So if someone comes into your home intent to kill you, if it's God's will, you're going to be dead. If it isn't God's will, you can't be dead unless you do something incredibly stupid. Like go downstairs with a gun. So, when I said it's an incredibly difficult, insane situation in that courtroom, it is. I mean, you've got members of families of the people that were killed. They're hoping that he gets a death sentence. That's what they're hoping. Some of them. Some of them are hoping that he would just have a prison sentence where he would be beaten and abused and raped and all the rest while in prison, because that's the best way that he can suffer. For them. And isn't that awful? Isn't that awful that people can be in that position of thinking that sort of thing? That's where they are. That's why they are in this situation, and it's horrendous. Is it good that it's televised? That it's recorded? I think it is, because it shows people that, and yeah. You want people praying for your country, then show them things about their country that are just horrendous. Well, put it this way, talking about horrendous, if you're in a country where certain states have the right to say, if we view that you've done something incredibly nasty, then we have the right to kill you, then surely any person in that country, but especially a kid, by their understanding, has the right to kill any kid that they deem has done anything nasty to them. Has picked on them, abused them, harassed them, done typically what kids do in schools. As I say, if someone's experience in school has been horrendous and has been at the hands of other kids, why shouldn't that child think in that state where that state says we have the right to kill people that do things that we count as horrendous, why shouldn't that kid go into a school with a gun and open fire on anyone? Well, I mean, specifically, they should be only opening fire on people that have made their life hell, but, generally speaking, that's not such an easy thing to do because everyone starts running. Yeah. So maybe if you're someone who thinks that a death penalty would be appropriate, then look at that point and understand. If you're saying the death penalty is appropriate, then you have to have understanding of what message you're sending out. And if other people take that same message and apply that to their lives, there you go. Then surely this kid is therefore not guilty because he's only doing the same as what the state is doing. If the state says we have that option, why shouldn't the kid? Well, that seems to be a fair question that should be asked. And certainly if you're looking at it from a point of view of from how God would see it. How can the state have more power to decide how to respond to things like this than an individual should have? Because individuals that are in a situation, the state, generally speaking, the state is not abused by people. Yes, they find that what this young lad did was horrendous. Yeah. But, I didn't hear any more of this trial, only this bit. I've not heard what he's had to say about the reasons why he did that. But if his reasons why he did that were to him horrendous, because that's the point, were to him horrendous, then surely he would have the right to act in the same way that the state is now saying they can act. Yeah. So, I mean, to me, it certainly is a case, as I say, when I talk about Christianity in other countries, especially in America, if you live in a state that still has a death penalty, then, yeah, you who claim to know God and to love God, get off your backsides and do something. This is your state that says it has the right to kill people. This is your state that says that killing people is okay. And if they're saying it is okay to kill people, I mean, I'm not sure. How does that work? In states where they don't have a death penalty, do you have more kids going and shooting people in schools? I don't think so. I don't think that probably is the case because, generally speaking, I don't think kids do that for fun. If they do it for fun, then, yeah, certainly they should never be let out. Now, I understand it. If the state is saying the reason why we think the death penalty is appropriate is because if we keep someone in prison, that costs a blinking fortune, especially for the rest of their life. He's what, 20-something now? So you're talking maybe 50, 60 years he could be in prison for. That's going to cost a lot of money. If you're talking about it from a financial point of view, then okay, that makes more sense. But then again, why not have better programs getting the prisoners actually producing something that you can sell that's going to actually help to keep them, to feed them and house them and all the rest, and pay for electricity for the prisons. Yeah. There are practical ways that you can do that if cost is an issue, but yeah. But I certainly understand that. But in a country where you incriminate over 2 million people, mostly for silly offences, where you don't really need to incriminate people, and when you incriminate people, a lot of people just get used to that and actually find that prison life is far better than life outside. I mean, again, isn't that bloody awful? Isn't that just terrible that someone can think that prison life is better than life outside? But that is the case. A lot of people in prisons go back and they go back and they go back and they go back. Yeah, because there they do get food, they do get a roof over their head, they get people that they can identify with, which they don't get outside. And again, if you are Christian in America, you need to consider that and do something about that situation. Not only the incarceration of 2.whatever million, but also the point of that so many people in prison just want to keep going back because society is so bad for them. No good saying that you're doing a good job as a church when this is a society that you are actually working in, and this is what you made, where people would rather be in prison than in that society. This is what you've influenced, and it's like that. Well, you've not done a good job, simply. I mean, as I say, when I say the church has failed, boom, you look at the evidence. Simple. I know that that's not popular in church, but the evidence is there for everyone to see. And things like this just raises questions that really should be asked. So there you go. You take care. God bless. I'll speak to you soon. I have no idea what's going to happen with this. Well, there's 17 counts, so it takes a while for the judge to read all of that out, doesn't it? So you take care. God bless. I'll speak to you soon. Have a wonderful week. Bye bye.